Like I said, and I don't know how much you covered it, Michael, but the budget deal, and we can get to it is pretty good from the perspective of Democrats. There's no spending on the wall. There is no deportation force. Planned Parenthood will not be subject to any cuts. There is no massive non-defense spending cuts like we saw up front. Puerto Rico's a little bit screwed. Doesn't mess with the sanctuary cities or the Cuba policy.
And doesn't the EPA stay at like 90% or so? Or
yeah, they'll do a good job of. But I mean, at least you're maintaining baselines. There's no funding for increased marijuana hysteria. Broadly speaking, pretty good. NIH is still funded.
Can you expand at all on Puerto Rico?
There's no money to. There is money, I think, to help Puerto Rico in terms of a shortfall in Medicaid, but there is no money, and I don't know that there would have been to help Puerto Rico, broadly speaking, without it being a pay for. So you would have to cut somewhere else to provide financial support for Puerto Rico. Which, of course, is like, what do you want to do? We're going to do, it'll be something like food stamps or health care for kids or bail out Puerto Rico. Oh, you don't want to bail out Puerto Rico? Let's let some hedge fund guy do it.
Right. And there are protests happening in Puerto Rico now as well with austerity measures. Students in the medical colleges.
But I will try and get to that in the next day or two.
I think we ought to just have Nelson Dennis on again sometime soon, just as a general, maybe. He's a great guest.
Yeah, I'd like to know a lot more about that.
So the next big fight, I guess, theoretically, right? And, I mean, this could be over before I finish this segment. By last reckoning, there were 22 no's on the whip count in terms of the Republican plan to repeal and replace Obamacare. All they need is 23 no's. Sometimes you don't want to be that 23rd guy, right? Like I remember seeing some show about when I was a kid, about the signing, I think it was the Declaration of Independence, and that's the way that they got that last guy to vote for it. I mean, to sign it. It was like, do you really want to go down in history as the one who didn't sign it? But stuff like this is not going to be helpful to the Republicans' effort to deny people health care. Here is Alabama Congressman Mo Brooks, one of our favorite members of the Freedom Caucus, who, and some people are saying, well, he sort of walks it back afterwards. But listen to what this guy, how he perceives. Apparently, and one of the best things about the Affordable Care Act is it basically eliminated that provision that if you had a pre-existing condition that you don't get to get health insurance. According to Representative Mo Brooks, there's something suspicious if you're sick.
The provisions, in an interview, President Trump said that people with pre-existing conditions will be protected. Insurance companies will not be allowed to deny them coverage. But my understanding is, as you just mentioned, this new legislation would allow states to opt out and allow insurance companies to refuse to sell insurance to people with pre-existing conditions as long as there's some setup for them, pools of some sort. Is the president sending a message to Congress to change that provision, or did he not understand what was in the bill?
Well, that's not my understanding of the way the bill has been reframed. My understanding is that it will allow insurance companies to require people who have higher health care costs to contribute more to the insurance pool that helps offset all these costs, thereby reducing the cost to those.
What he's saying there, that's a very intricate way of saying, my understanding is that we're going to allow insurance companies to set the price so high that people will not be able to afford it, or if they can, they'll still make big profits on them, with the purposes of, and then he goes on to talk about the more moral people who aren't with the sickness.
Higher health care costs to contribute more to the insurance pool that helps offset all these costs, thereby reducing the cost to those people who lead good lives, they're healthy, they've done the things to keep their bodies healthy. And right now, those are the people who've done things the right way that are seeing their costs skyrocketing. Now, in fairness, a lot of these people with pre-existing conditions, they have those conditions through no fault of their own. And I think our society under those circumstances needs to help.
Okay, so under those circumstances, where those people who had these pre-existing conditions on no fault of their own, but those other people, there's another class of people there that he's talking about who have not led their lives properly, have not taken care of themselves properly. Those people,
those are black
we just
people.
need to isolate those people and make sure that they're not in a position to afford health insurance. I mean, that's what he's saying there. It is both reprehensible and laudable. Reprehensible in what he's saying, laudable in that he at least articulates it, because that is the Republican position, right? There's a segment of the population, they just don't deserve health care for whatever reason, because the way that they are.
They could be, I don't know, black. I mean, there's a lot of different reasons. I'm sure there's some white guys that have pre-existing conditions and they don't deserve those hikes.
That's right.
But
Well, because of course
sure,
they've
some of
lived
them
their
are good
lives.
people. Some people pre-existing conditions are good people.
Okay, so
But a lot of them have a lot of problems.
I don't watch television. I don't have cable. Are Democrats taking any of this stuff and just running it in these people's districts? Because
I don't live in Alabama, but I imagine that this guy, they're not going to run that in Alabama. But I would imagine you'll see it.
I mean, they're seeing it when we're seeing it when they go home for town halls. I mean, and that's without people even seeing everything that their representative has said. People will be outraged. Absolutely outraged.
I've seen people, at least on the context of Twitter, but there's a lot of people don't pay attention.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why isn't the Democratic? Oh gosh,
a lot of people don't watch TV. Hey, folks, the Majority Report YouTube page is in a bit of a crisis right now because of changes in their algorithms. Our YouTube revenue has been clobbered. We need your help. Just a couple of bucks a month would really help us out and keep this channel going. Head over to our Patreon page to find out more information. It's the URL is right here.